Hello and welcome to episode number 118 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, iHeartRadio, streaming wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the rest. This is going to be a Game Awards recap show. We'll go over the award winners and all the reveals throughout the three segments of the day. We'll go in chronological order for both, where they appeared in the show. For me, it was a very good show. I thought it was a very good awards show. I thought the awards made sense. Every single one of them that was given out made sense to me. I thought the reveals were very, very cool, including some games that I really was not expecting, and others that were, brand new IPs, nice surprises, and the like. So it was definitely a show worthy of the Game Awards title. Has me excited for a lot of things coming out in the coming year. Let's not waste any time. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to forego the 6 and 60 seconds this week because it's all Game Awards related. Everything that I would have mentioned in the 6 and 60 ended up being part of this awards show. So let's get into the awards right here. We're going to start off with the Player's Voice Award, which was an interesting situation in and of itself. So the Player's Voice Award, for those who don't know, they take, I think I talked about this last week, they take 30 games and put them up for a vote. The top 10 go to round 2, and the top 5 of those 10 make it into the final round. And player and fans can vote 30, 10, 5. This week, and they show the results too, which is an interesting part of this. This week, the Sonic Frontiers Sonic fans saw that Sonic Frontiers was in the Final 5, and they decided to mobilize and make it so that Sonic Frontiers won, or which would eventually win the award. But fans of another game caught wind of it and tried to overtake them through sheer force of will, and ended up doing that. The winner was Genshin Impact for the Player's Voice Award. Best VR AR game, you have Moss Book 2. Best strategy simulation game, you have Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Best sports racing game, the winner is Gran Turismo 7. Best score and music, which I think was one of the most highly contested awards of the entire night. 5 fantastic nominees in Olivier Derivière, oh god, I said that wrong, for Plague Tale Requiem, Tsukasa Saito for Elden Ring, Bear McCreary for God of War Ragnarok, 2 feathers for Metal Hellsinger, and Yasunori Mitsuda for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with Bear McCreary taking the award. I could have seen that going one of 4 or 5 different ways, but Bear McCreary ultimately was my choice. Next, we have Best RPG with Elden Ring, Live Alive, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with Elden Ring taking the award. Best performance by actor in a game this year. Your nominees were Ashley Birch for Aloy in Horizon Forbidden West, Charlotte McBurney for Amicia de Rune in A Plague Tale Requiem, Christopher Judge for Kratos in God of War Ragnarok, Manon Gage for Marissa Marcel as Marissa Marcel in Immortality, and Sunny Soljic for Atreus in God of War Ragnarok. And the award went to Christopher Judge. I completely agree with that. Not to besmirch any of the other performances. I'm sure they're all very good, but some things about the way Christopher Judge portrays Kratos are really, really hard to ignore how great they are. So a well-deserved win for him. Next up, we have the best ongoing game. These are the games where they have more seasons and have more things going on throughout the year. They're not like when the story's over, they're done. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact are your nominees, with Final Fantasy XIV winning that. Best Narrative, Best Overall Story, God of War Ragnarok won over Elden Ring, Horizon, Immortality, and Plague Tale, which lends credence to what I thought was going to happen in this category. Elden Ring tells a very fantastic story, but it's like, as a friend put it, going on an archaeological dig to find all the little story tidbits. There is a argument to be made about coherence in narration, in your narrative, and I think God of War Ragnarok did that better. So it won, and it should have. Best multiplayer of the year, we have Modern Warfare 2, Multiverses, Overwatch 2, Splatoon 3, and Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, with the winner being Splatoon 3. Very well-deserved award there. Best mobile game went to Marvel Snap, which I'm all about. If you haven't played Marvel Snap, you should. Innovation and accessibility went to God of War Ragnarok. As I understand it, very cool things going on there. Best indie game winner between Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic went to Stray. Kitty cat game, love that. The Games for Impact winner, which is a game that has like a good, I believe it's an impactful critique on society or on like the way things are or something like that. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember what's going on in this category. I used to know it back the back of my hand, but it's like a game that like tells a story that's relevant to the times and stuff like that. With As Dusk Falls winning that one. Best game direction went to Elden Ring over God of War and Horizon. Best fighting game went to Multiverses, which is an interesting choice considering the King of Fighters 15, DNF Duel are there. But I understand the overall appeal of the game and the characters within, and it's more Smash Brothers just in a different light, which I get. Best family game went to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which apparently, according to Nintendo President Doug Bowser, is the first ever game award that Kirby has won. I'll have to go back and look at that, but that would be interesting. Best esports team went to Loud for their Valorant championship. Best esports athlete went to Ye, who is a Cloud9 player for Valorant. Best esports game winner went to Valorant. Best esports event winner went to League of Legends Worlds 2022, which is interesting. The best coach award went to Bazooka from Valorant, also from Loud, I believe. Best debut indie game, so the first game from the studio that made it. Stray wins this once again over a very tough crowd, Neon White, Norco, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors. Content Creator of the Year is Ludwig. Final Fantasy XIV also wins Best Community Support over ongoing games like Destiny 2, Apex Legends, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. Audio design also went to God of War Ragnarok over Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, Gran Turismo 7, and Horizon Forbidden West. Best art direction went to Elden Ring, another one that God of War could have taken. I kind of like Stray in this category as well. I thought that had a very unique aesthetic to it, but ultimately Elden Ring won out. Best adaptation, which is the best adaptation of a video game property or IP into more traditional media, be it a TV show or a movie, with Arcane League of Legends winning that. Highly, highly recommend you watch that if you have not done so already. Most anticipated game was Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. No surprise there. I expected that to be the winner, although RE4 Remake, Starfield, Final Fantasy 16, and Hogwarts Legacy, all top-notch games in their own right. Best Action Adventure went to God of War Ragnarok over Plague Tale, Horizon, Stray, and Tunic. Bayonetta 3 with Best Action Game winner over Call of Duty, Neon White, Sifu, and Shredder's Revenge. That was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought maybe this would be the one that Neon White would win. But seeing Bayonetta 3 up there is pretty cool. And then finally, the big one, Game of the Year 2022 went to Elden Ring in a highly contested matchup. People were not sure if it would be Elden Ring or God of War. And it actually opened up an interesting little narrative that I picked up on as I was watching the show. So back in 2018, there was a similar two-game race for the major awards at this show. You had Red Dead Redemption 2, which many people thought would sweep all the awards. And you had God of War, the 2018 predecessor to this year's Ragnarok. While Red Dead Redemption 2 did win a bulk of the lesser awards that they were nominated for, what many consider to be the top two awards of the show, or the most impactful awards of the show, Best Game Direction and Game of the Year, went to God of War. They walked away with that game, with that award in 2018, did Santa Monica Studios. This year, 2022, God of War comes in with the most nominations. They win a solid amount of awards in those lesser categories. But when it comes to overall game direction and to Game of the Year, they receive a taste of their own medicine and lose to Elden Ring. It's a very interesting parallel, a very interesting repetition of history that has come out of this, which I always love when things like that line up more than they should. And to see, basically, with their fortune in previous award shows come back to bite them in the backside just fascinates me. Well deserved for Elden Ring. Again, and I said this last week, it may not be my cup of tea, but I do recognize the sheer impact it had on the industry as a whole for a solid month when it came out, and it will continue to have for the foreseeable future, I think, as more games come out that may be influenced by it. I remember writing for GameSpot when Elden Ring came out, and when you get into GameSpot's little content management system and you're going to put an article in, it shows you the top articles of the day. Like, you can see what articles have the most hits on any given day. And for 3 to 4 weeks, I would say, between February and March, there wasn't a day where Elden Ring, whether it was a guide, a news article, the review itself, something, took up 5 of those 10 slots, 6. It was just total, ultimate domination for a solid month when that game came out. And God of War Ragnarok, to its credit, still a very, very good game that might end up being at the top of the, WizWit Awards when all is said and done, but it did not have that impact. It didn't. People played it, they watched it, and they were done. And I think that is what makes Elden Ring slightly higher, in my opinion. As far as the Game Awards here goes, is it my personal opinion for Game of the Year? No, but that's because that type of game is not my cup of tea. I find them to be inaccessible to the point of maddening. And when I'm sitting down to play a game, I only have so many hours to give, and I don't want to spend them pulling what's left of my hair out. However, I can acknowledge that even though it's not my thing, it was certainly a thing, and well-deserving of the Game of the Year award. So those were your award winners for the Game Awards 2022. On the other side of this break, we will talk about the games that were revealed during the show. Multiple trailers shown for multiple games coming out in 2023. And after that, we'll get into a huff and a rant about scheduling, because the way after this award show a certain month of the year looks now, I am basically going to be anchored to my chair with the exception of a single week in that month. But we'll get into that in the third segment. So, coming up after the break, I will run down everything that was revealed via trailer at the Game Awards 2022. Stick around, would you? All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 118, the Game Awards 2022 recap show. Spent the first segment of the show going over the awards, who won what, and who won how many. Congratulations again to From Software and Bandai Namco for Elden Ring being Game of the Year of 2022. Now we will move on to what many consider to be the better part, or the main reason for, or whatever you want to call it, of the Game Awards, and that is the game reveals, the things that were announced, the things that were shown during the 3-hour event. Well, I guess 3.5 if you consider the pre-show at 7:30. A lot of really interesting things shown and via trailers in this event. I think we're looking at 35 to 40 different things that were shown when all is said and done. So I'm going to run down the list right here. First was a new cel-shaded action fighting game sort of thing starring Hellboy. Hellboy Web of Weird was revealed first. It was the first thing that was shown during the pre-show. And then Among Us is getting a new hide-and-seek mode where one player is obviously the bad guy, but it's not like in the normal Among Us where you can see that he's the bad guy. He's got like big teeth and it's big and scary, and if he catches you, you're dead, but you have to hide from him. So that's an interesting little new mode that's coming out. First big noisy announcement of the show would be Hades 2 from Supergiant. Hades was a huge hit in 2020, Game of the Year candidate and winner across multiple different outlets and places. In a year where Last of Us Part 2 came out, no less. So to see it, and it's, I think, the first ever direct sequel from Supergiant, the developer of the game. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to see where that goes from here. We also got to see the next game from BioShock creator Ken Levine and his studio Ghost Story Games called Judas. Very BioShocky. If you're familiar with that franchise, you know what to expect in this trailer. A lot of weird sort of supernatural things going on, conjuring up spells and stuff like that. It was a cool trailer, but it's exactly what you would expect from someone from the mind of Ken Levine and BioShock fame. So cool trailer there as well. My favorite reveal of the pre-show was the final one, a massive trailer blowing out Street Fighter 6, revealing a release date of June the 3rd, revealing four characters that will be joining the roster, one returning in DJ, the Jamaican sort of break dance fighter from Super Street Fighter 2, has not been seen since Street Fighter 4. I believe Super Street Fighter 4 is when he made his debut. So he will be right in the base roster for Street Fighter 6. Very cool. As well as 3 brand new characters, brand new original characters, Street Fighter 6. We have a graceful sort of judoka / supermodel in Manon from France. We have Marissa, who is a massive bodybuilding, like freak of nature sort of She-Hulk, sort of big time, grappler wrestler from Italy. So I think I'm going to main her because she's probably going to play like Zangief, and she's from Italy. So she just fits right in my wheelhouse. And then finally JP, who we don't really know a whole lot about, but he seems to be able to conjure up psycho energy a la M. Bison. And the lore of Street Fighter says that M. Bison can transfer his essence into another host. So speculation is high that JP is that guy. We will see more, I'm sure, in the coming weeks leading up to that excellent June 3rd release date. Next up, we had one of the more emotional and somber moments of the Game Awards. It was a trailer for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League from Rocksteady and WB. Showing off some of the shenanigans that the Suicide Squad's getting into, Harley Quinn and King Shark and all them. But at the end, we see Batman, who is possessed, we assume, by Azrael. And we hear his voice, and it's Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy, the longtime voice of Batman, who passed away about a month ago from cancer. And it was revealed that, A, the game comes out next May, and B, he will be voicing Batman in that game. It'll be his final voice turn as Batman, I believe, at least in video games, will be this Kill the Justice League game next May. So a very fitting tribute to the man who meant a lot to a lot of people. And it was just a cool thing to see. So I commend Warner Brothers for the way they did it, and I appreciate Jeff and the Game Awards for showing it. That was a very, very cool thing. Last of Us Part 1 coming to PC in March. That's pretty cool. Makes sense with the show coming out in January. Star Wars Jedi Survivor also releasing in March. Very cool first gameplay trailer there. Very interested to see what's going on in that game. One of my top announcements from the show, the next game from the developers of Celeste, a fantastic retro platformer. If you have not played Celeste, you should. Their next game is called Earthblade and looks just like more of that sweet Celeste gameplay. Not till 2024, which was a bit of a downer, but the fact that they're showing off their next game is a good sign. I'll take it. Dune Awakening is a new trailer showing off the open world Survivor MMO. And then we had the official next game from Hideo Kojima, Death Stranding 2, which he's calling DS2, revealed at the Game Awards. We saw Leah Seydoux. We saw Norman Reedus resuming his role, and more, and others coming back for more Death Stranding. Very cool to see that trailer. That's in a game I really have to get out of my backlog. It's one that I wanted to play. I've had it sitting here forever. I just got to press play and go through it. I feel like it's something I'll really like. Immortals of, I want to say Avium or Aveum, not sure how to really put that. Single player, first person magic shooter from EA, so you're blasting with spells and stuff like that. That was cool looking. Burning Shores, the next DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, coming out in April of next year. Loved Forbidden West, so you want to give me more of that, I'm all about it. Going to be set in LA, which looks like it was impacted by a volcano. The Hollywood sign still standing somehow until the end of the trailer, at least. Diablo 4 coming out June 6, 2023. Makes sense. Big with the devil, 6-6. I get it. But that was big news for Diablo fans. Blue Protocol is an MMORPG being brought west by Amazon Games, developed by Bandai Namco. Had a very Genshin Impact sort of look to it. But definitely something I found interesting. Would like to see more of that in the coming weeks. I did dabble in Genshin Impact a little bit. I do enjoy it. So maybe Blue Protocol will be able to pull me in a little bit more. Not that I need more ongoing games to play, of course. Remnant 2, I believe the first Remnant game was called Fall from Ashes or something like that, or From the Ashes. Sequel to that game, Remnant 2, was announced, which is pretty cool. Meet Your Maker by the developers of Dead by Daylight, coming April 2023. This is a game where it's a multiplayer game where one person, you build your own tower that has all these booby traps and you're hiding some sort of item at the top of the tower. And then you can go to your friend's towers and try to traverse it to get the item, or your friend can come to you and try to get your item. Interesting concept. I'm curious how that will play out as that game gets closer to launch in April. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, an action RPG by Don't Nod, who is normally known for Life is Strange. Also did Vampire, though. Vampire, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but they did that also in 2017, I want to say, which was not, didn't set the world on fire, but it's a solid RPG. So if Banishers gets into that, that's pretty cool. And then we're going to get into what, for me, was the wildest reveal of the night. A new game from 505 called Crime Boss Rockay City. It's a first-person shooter where you're playing as a character whose likeness and voice is that of Michael Madsen of Reservoir Dogs fame. And for the longtime gamers, he played Tony Cipriani in Grand Theft Auto 3. And he's like the crime boss that's trying to take control of the underworld in 1990s Florida after the previous crime boss died. So he's trying to ascend to the throne. But there are other actors. The cast of this game is insane. So you have Michael Madsen, you have Danny Glover, Danny Trejo, you have Damien Poitier, you have Kim Basinger, and Chuck Norris, and Vanilla Ice, let's say Vanilla Ice, and Chuck Norris is the sheriff trying to catch them all. It's just a very interesting trailer with a lot of weird names you would not expect to be in a video game. But hey, if it works out, it comes out, and it surprises people, I'm all about it. Sounds like it's the kind of thing that could be a lot of fun. Idris Elba is revealed for Cyberpunk 2077's first DLC, Phantom Liberty. That was really cool to see him in a game. A huge surprise from Bandai Namco that Armored Core 6 is finally announced after over a decade since the previous game came out. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon will be coming in 2023. The final announcement of the show was Final Fantasy XVI, brand new trailer themed around revenge, gets a June 22nd, 2023 release date. Highly anticipated game there. Falling into the development cycle that they said it would, which could mean that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth could be happening at the end of 2023, winter of that year, which would be quite the way to end the year. We'll see what happens. But right now, Square seems to be fulfilling its promises, and that is promising. Some other things to talk about. Dead Cells is crossing over with Castlevania, which is very cool. Vampire Saviors is coming to mobile. Returnal coming to PC. And then I'm just trying to see if I missed anything. Oh, I did miss a huge one. Tekken 8. Tekken 8's first trailer showing off some of the series' iconic characters that will be returning for this new game. We already saw Kazuya and Jin. We see Paul Phoenix. We see Law. We see Jack. We see King. And then we see, playable for the first time in a core Tekken game since Tekken 2, Jun Kazama, who is the mother of Jin Kazama in the story. Have not seen her, like I said, since Tekken 2. She was in Tekken Tag Tournament 2. It doesn't really count. It's non-canon. It's an offshoot. But bringing her back into the main story for the first time since then, since I was a kid, is when Tekken 2 came out, and that's exciting. I think that's really, really cool. I'm looking very much forward to seeing what they do with her. I always liked using her in Tekken 2, but I haven't been able to since, with the exception of Tag 2. So if you want to bring her back in and make her a badass, I'm all about it. That sounds really, really cool. But yeah, so go check out all the trailers from the Game Awards 2022. See which games you're looking the most forward to. See what might not have been shown that you were expecting. Maybe some NetherRealm, even though they said they weren't coming this year, or the aforementioned Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I also guess makes sense because they didn't want to go over 16's head. But a lot of stuff to like, a lot of stuff to really sink your teeth into. And 2023, man, 2023 is going to be an absolute romp for games. Get ready for it. Get your wallets ready for it, because it's going to be a crazy one. And it's time to buckle in and get ready for it. So that is your full Game Awards recap between the last segment and this one. All of the winners in the first segment, all of the major reveals in this segment. And coming up after the break, I just want to get into something that's sticking in my craw a little bit after tonight. No, it's not the obvious thing. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about something else that's a little more into the future. And, just what I said before about getting your wallet ready, that is particularly true in 1 month in particular. You may have already guessed what it is based on what I was saying earlier, but if not, we'll talk about it more after the break. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 118, Game Awards review show. Already went through the winners of the awards and the reveals from the night, all the trailers, all the things that were shown throughout the show. But I want to end this episode on a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Just a small suggestion that I have for those who make video games. I don't like to ask much, just because you've given me so much entertainment, and I think it would be rude of me to, demand more, put more games on my, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. You guys make the games. I just play them, review them sometimes, talk about them on this podcast. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your jobs. I don't know how to make games, but what I will say is I need you to figure out a better schedule for when you're going to send these games to me, or when you're going to bring these games out to everyone. I not necessarily send them to me. I don't have that kind of clout, but I need you to kind of figure out a way where everyone's not releasing the same game all of the time. I would appreciate it. And here's what I'm talking about. So one of the things we could take away from the Game Awards this evening is that 2023 is going to be an absolute smasher with games coming out and having a ton of stuff to play. My issue lies in the glut of those releases that are due to come between, let's say, mid-May and the end of June. Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda, which won most anticipated game, I believe, is May the 12th, if my memory serves me. And then we have, as announced tonight, Kill the Justice League at the end of May. May 26th, I believe that date was. I could be wrong about that. I think it was 25, 26, something like that. And then the next week, or very soon after, we have Street Fighter 6 confirmed for June the 3rd. And then we have Diablo 4 confirmed for 3 days later on June the 6th. I believe Baldur's Gate falls into that time frame as well. Somewhere in that early to mid-June area is where Baldur's Gate, I believe, sits. I'll check that while I'm speaking to you right now. Let's see here where it is. Oh, sorry, that's August. Okay, so Baldur's Gate, August. That one's not so bad. But Final Fantasy 16 is now the end of June, June 22nd. So all of these games, these major games that a lot of people are going to want to play, are coming out within 6 weeks of each other. And smack dab in the middle of this glut of big releases sits the impending return of E3 2023, which is scheduled to be the 13th to the 15th, the second full week of June. Is meant to be dedicated to E3, which does sit in between the 3rd and 6th for Street Fighter 6 and Diablo, and then the 22nd, 23rd for Final Fantasy 16. But as a writer, as someone who has been covering the industry for many years, a lot of times those games, either if they're online games, you're going to be reviewing them as reviews in progress, so you can check network stability, you can check connectivity, you can check those things. And in Street Fighter 6's case, Street Fighter is huge on online play. I'm not sure how much of the online structure they'll have available pre-release for reviewers, but we'll see about that. So you could have a situation where one website, or all the websites for that matter, will have a reviewer assigned to Street Fighter 6, a reviewer assigned to Diablo 4, and a reviewer assigned to Final Fantasy 16, and they could be playing all of them, or need to have all of them played in that E3 week. Because, if you're testing the online, well, Street Fighter 6 might be a bit of a stretch, because if, say, the online goes live on the 3rd when it launches, that's 10 days between when E3 starts and when the online goes on. That should be enough time to get an idea of how it works. So maybe Street Fighter 6 can sit a little bit on the periphery in this discussion. But having Diablo 4 and Final Fantasy 16 butt up against each other like that is going to be inherently dangerous, and it's going to segment some audiences. I imagine that when these folks planned these games, I feel like they did not want all of this stuff in mind, or all in one spot, because, as I'm saying here, gamers only have so much time in their day, particularly in my case with kids and family and responsibilities. I'm going to sit down and play the game I want to play the most. Now, am I going to be done with Street Fighter 6 in 3 weeks before Final Fantasy 22 comes out? I don't know. Am I going to be done with Diablo 4 if I decide to mingle in that? I don't know. If I am fortunate enough to review Final Fantasy 16, how will being at E3 impact that? There was a tweet by, Jason Schreier. Where is it? Here it is. Breath of the Wild 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, and Baldur's Gate 3 all releasing within a 4-month period is going to be a real problem. And he's putting out what a lot of gamers are probably thinking. They only have so much time to devote to these games. And they're going to have to pick and choose which ones they want to play at any given moment. Now, he follows that up with a little snarky tweet. It says, fortunately, it's video games, so at least 2 of them will slip. But I don't know about that. I feel like in all 4 of these games' cases, we have known for a very long time about all 4 of them. And they have gone, in the case of Diablo and Baldur's Gate, they have gone through some extensive live testing. Baldur's Gate's still in early access, technically. So they have a lot of, user data and to go off of, and improvements that they've been making. That might be that August window might be right for Baldur's Gate 3. And Diablo 4, I'm telling you right now, is going to hit that June 6th date. If it comes out, a less than stellar technical mess, well, that's what Diablo 3 did, and that turned out fine. Diablo 4 could do the same, but I'm telling you that the June 6th date is more important to them than, potentially putting out a 100% perfect product. Because it's June 6th. Diablo 4 is all about the devil. 6-6. They want that synergy. It's just how it is. Breath of the Wild 2, I think, is certainly going to, Tears of the Kingdom, whatever, is certainly going to make that May 13th, May 12th, whatever it is, release date. Because we've known about that game since, E3 2019 was the first time we saw that? That's coming on 4 years. It'll be almost 4 years since we learned about that game that it will drop. That sounds right. Honestly, for a game of that scale, 4 years sounds right. Even if it is just building on the engine of the previous game, sounds right. The only way I could see Breath of the Wild 2 slipping is if Nintendo decides that the Switch Pro or the enhanced Switch is real, despite their denials and of rumors to the contrary, and Breath of the Wild 2 becomes a Switch Pro or Switch 2 or what have you launch title as its predecessor was for the current Switch. That could move Breath of the Wild 2, but other than that, I think all 4 of those games are pretty much locked in for when they're coming. So you could be dealing with Breath of the Wild, Diablo, Final Fantasy 16, and Baldur's Gate in 4 months' time. Granted, it's 3 of those 4 are closer together than the 4th one is, so Baldur's Gate is probably the least threatened by this potentially heavy release window in this May to June, but that's still a ton of game in a ton of games. None of those 4 games are going to be small. All of them are going to be hours-long adventures, potentially tens or hundreds of hours. Tens or hundreds of hours of gameplay. And people just don't have the time to devote to it. I don't know if they talk to each other about release windows or release dates, but maybe they should. Maybe they should start figuring out who wants to launch what so we can get a more steady workload. Now, obviously, there's an argument to be made that if you're suddenly releasing a game every 2 weeks, that the impact of something new lessens when you're already done with it and there's a new one to replace it. I get that part. If you're a Magic the Gathering fan, that's what's going on right now with them and Hasbro releasing too many sets. But ultimately, my point is, I feel like bunching up all these releases kind of lessens the impact of all of them, because I want to be like, yo, Breath of the Wild 2, this is awesome. I'm cutting through this game. I can't wait to see every nook and cranny, but I better get done before Street Fighter comes out. And then with Street Fighter, I'm going to play that world tour. I'm going to beat the crap out of it. It's going to be great. But I better beat it before Final Fantasy 16 comes out. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot. I wish there was more space in the schedule. I wish there was more wiggle room. I wish there was more ways for people to, play the games they want to play for the time that they want to devote to them. Sure, some people will be loyal to each of those 4 franchises and just focus on that one, and that is obviously their right. But I don't know. It just seems to me that bunching all of these releases together is slightly counterproductive and overall hurtful to each of them. Now, whether or not what I just said shakes out, I could be talking out of my backside. I don't know. I'm sure they're all going to be 10 million sellers, with maybe Baldur's Gate being the only exception, just because it's not as big of a franchise as the other 3. But the other 3 are going to sell tens of millions and fill the coffers, and everybody's going to be happy. And then next year at the Game Awards, we're all going to have a very heated debate as to what should be Game of the Year. You think it was bad this year with 2 games? Oh, it's going to be much, much worse when you're dealing with potentially 4 or 5 big-time releases all vying for that Game of the Year slot. 2023 Game Awards, the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards, no less, shaping up to be a colossal banger. And I am here for it. And with that, we are at the end of the episode number 118 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcasts. I am Jason Finelli. I am the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler. You can also find my work at GameSpot MMORPG. A couple of brand new headlines I notched this week. First, a review in Game Informer for Atari 15, the Anniversary Collection, which if you've ever played Atari games, if you were a young child when those came out, that is absolutely something you should be exploring because it's so expertly done and tells the entire story of Atari from front to back. I absolutely love it. And then finally, just tonight with Game Awards coverage, I was added to, or I had a byline added to Sports Illustrated, my first ever Sports Illustrated since they opened that new gaming vertical. You can read my news article about that crime boss, Rockay City. Definitely worthy of a read if you want to go check that out, see the trailer and things like that. But go check that stuff out. I have one more article related to the Game Awards coming out tomorrow. It's a doozy, and I'm very proud of it. So keep an eye on my socials at Big Man Finelli on Twitter and Instagram to find out when those things are coming out. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a great week right behind it. Almost WizWit awards season. Almost time for the end of the year to figure out who were the best video games of the year. But until then, have a fantastic weekend. We will talk to you next week for number 119. Goodbye.